What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. The Division will be live a little bit later on, and hopefully they'll give us a little bit more insight into the Master Climax mission that is coming in just over a week now. I expect we'll get it a week on Tuesday, and I'm kind of been thinking about what I'm going to try it out with. I am going to try and do it, whether this is going to make it more difficult for me or not, without the modifiers. Yannick did say that we can do it without the modifiers. He said he thinks we'll find it harder without the modifiers. And yeah, all right, the modifiers can yield us some huge damage, and I will probably adjust if I feel the need to. But I also think they might hinder me in doing the content. If I put them on, you know, to do this legendary mission here, there, you know, I kind of think there would be some hindrance with it. But we'll do the first section here of District Union Arena, and we'll do it on legendary, because they said it's going to be in between heroic and legendary with a twist. So I guess there's going to be some kind of mechanics in there or something they've never done before to make it maybe seem like it's a little bit harder. I've made this build, as always. Right now it's a pestilence build because it's just brilliant. I have got my Lexington here as well though, and that is set up with the killer talent, because it would be that I would be planning on trying to crack it solo, because, you know, we all want the fame and glory, right? So you've had a quick sneak peek of it there because I'm changing my drone, but let's see how it actually does perform. I definitely am taking the striker drone. It's better than a decoy, I think, and obviously it puts out some damage as well. So far, looking great. Well, I haven't used modifiers in such a long time. So what we'll do is we'll kind of sit back, we'll put some on, and we'll maybe think about some adjustments we could make to the build. As highly likely we would use the crit chance modifier, so then we could put more crit damage into the build, essentially giving us a boost in numbers. But as you can see, you know, this is, I don't want to be fully exposed all of the time. You know, harder difficulties makes that difficult. But the pestilence obviously does some serious work when we're just sat reloading. And I literally think this will be the play. I don't think any content that they'll add into the game will not be taken down with how strong, you know, this build is. There's enemies dying that I've not even shot, you know. It honestly doesn't feel right now like, you know, this is legendary, you know. But obviously this is the easiest legendary in the game. I know they're all funneled in one direction. I get that, but, you know, once we get to know what the mission layout's going to be like and things like that, we can use things like this to our advantage. Yeah, I wonder if they bring any mechanics in for, you know, armor or anything, or weak spots or something. Survivability is pretty good as well. I have put 2 blue cores on this. I'm not usually one to be over cautious. You know me, I'd run all reds for damage, and then just a revive hive as my backup. But as you can see, that went fairly well. We have got gunner on, so ammo would have regenerated, but we could have always let an enemy come a bit closer before we killed them. And we would have been absolutely fine. So we'll load back up now, and what we'll think about doing, and I'll show you the build as well at the same time here, so that you see what I'm doing. So this is the build, right? Nothing special, but clearly one of the best DPS builds in the game. And essentially all we've done is build in a very little bit of survivability. 10% armor on kill from gunner, 10% armor on kill from a palisade piece, and then the liquid engineer for armor regen, and obviously perfect bloodsucker as well. So, you know, easy peasy. So if we were going to apply modifiers, so obviously applying modifiers straight off the rip will give us, you know, some extra damage. But a lot of the time we'll probably be at medium to long range. So what are we going to use? We'll probably use all out just to be safe, because we are probably going to play at long range most of the time. We're not going to want to be reversaling in for short range or anything like this. At first, we'll essentially probably be keeping our distance while we get to know the mission and things like that. We're definitely going to take Retribution, because now what we can do is rip all crit chance that we can easily take out of our build and replace that with crit damage, which essentially then is going to give us a lot more damage. For the third one down here, we're going to take Persistence, just because movement speed is great, accuracy, I'll give or take it, but reload speed as well. I'm using LMG. It's just 3 good buffs, you know, no matter what, without having to give any negatives to us or anything like that. And then for the third one, what are we going to do? We're not going to go with Tapper, because, you know, we are going to be probably keeping a bit of a distance. It's a very hard difficulty, and I think we could probably end up killing ourselves if we do, by not being able to do enough body damage to anything. We're not going to go with this because we know marksman rifles. Maybe we could go with pressure piston. I mean, yeah, we could go with quicken. This would be a pretty good shout. It would mean that we have our drone up more for, and then essentially that's going to add more survivability, because it's going to be essentially being a decoy, you know, more often. So yeah, I do like the idea of quicken. Does kind of work in well with Retribution as well. But I do like the idea of maybe going with by the teeth. Each shot to an enemy's body increases damage up to 2.5x. The multiplier grows by 0.5x with each shot, and a headshot resets it. The bonus can be stacked on different enemies. Shooting an enemy outside of long range resets the stack. And I think this would probably be the play. I think we'll probably just sit back and just try and use by the teeth. If the areas don't allow for this, I would probably switch to quicken. I think that's probably just the range. I don't think we're ever really going to be in short range, especially when we don't know the mission anyway. But I think the play here is to go with by the teeth, sit back, and, you know, let the pestilence do its job. And I think that is essentially what we will go for. And what we'll do now is, just before I go through the build in detail, we'll replay this area, and again we'll sit at long range and we'll just kind of see how we kind of fare, right? How we get on. So reset. So now, give or take what enemies we get. Oh, there's a snake. But we're hoping the pestilence will deal with the snakes as well. So we've got to think about that, because they will take tick damage. Now we're only at medium range here, right? So there is that to think about. We are going to have to push back a little bit more, which does put us a long way back. And I'm probably hitting heads now and not doing enough damage because I'm not, you know, in a spot where I can do it. So maybe the long range play is not the play. This is a far better spot to be in. We are just gonna, we'll go for it still. We'll shoot for the bodies. We'll see if it plays out. That thing doesn't play out. I mean, we are putting in damage numbers now. They're at long range. Maybe this is the play. Yeah, this is definitely the play. As long as the mission allows for us to be this far back. I mean, we are chunking away with the damage bonuses, and we didn't make any changes to the build. I've been silly. I've got too much crit chance in the build. I haven't taken all my crit damage mods out. Crit chance mods out. We're actually under damaged right now compared to what we can be. I know you modify. This is the thing, these modifiers, man. They're so annoying. This guy needs to be blue. I mean, we still... This is the point, right? We're still able to take annoying enemies down. Even with the silly ranged mechanics. Like, they're just dying, right? And I think that's kind of the point, right? If we have to use the modifiers, if we need the extra damage... We haven't even activated the primary one yet for any extra damage there either. He's just going to die. The helicopter did something weird. I feel like we are having an easier time. Yeah, we're definitely having an easier time. So we have got the option there for some huge damage without, you know, any real worry. So I think this is definitely what I'm going to go for. I would obviously reduce any crit chance rolls off. So this crit chance would be, so this would be then now changed to a crit damage mod. I'll show, in fact, before I do that, stats, you can see here, it's, oh, yeah, because we've got the modifier on. Right, be right back. Alright, so now we're back in the game. We can see now we've got no seasonal modifier. Even though they're on, they're not applied to the build. So you can see we're at 55.5% crit chance, 105% critical hit damage, 85% headshot damage. My backup gun would have been the Lexington with Killer, because this is like I'm talking about, I'm very much planning, this is the build to do it by myself. But I would probably take Killer off if I wasn't going to be by myself. Maybe I would just leave it on because the Pesties where it's at, right? The Pesties where I'm trying to apply most of my my damage. But they are the stats. And if we were going to change because of the modifiers, essentially what we would do is we would take this one out, and this would then become critical hit damage. This one also would come out. What's this one? That's also damage. And then any rolls you got here that are chance, you basically change. That one's already damage. That one there. So essentially adding, let's put a damage mod in here. I'm not going to re-roll and waste the materials because I'm going to try it normal first. There we go. So essentially at the moment now, we've got 12% crit chance too much because we would re-roll 2 pieces. But 139, 140, so we would have 141% critical hit damage. Plus then all the modifiers that we talked about. So increasing our damage quite significantly, actually, more than I thought. So that's what I would go with. If I felt like solo, I definitely needed that extra modifier damage, and the build wasn't going to take me through it without the modifiers. That's the play. Currently, I got 2 blue cores rolled on this. I feel like that's probably going to be enough. I've got a revive hive as the backup. I would probably lose one of these if I feel like I need more damage in certain areas, depending on whatever the mechanics are that they have brought in to make it more difficult. They're usually very much anti-strikers build though, so you know, this is kind of the push through the difficult content by being powerful. So I do want to err on the side of caution by adding blues to it. Obviously, as you can see, this is my best build. It's the one I put the most effort into. Everything is 27, so it is pretty excessive. I know that everybody will be at that, so bear that in mind as well. You might have to, you know, run 2 blue cores. You might have to run 3 blue cores. You know, everything being 27 gives me 1 and a bit blue core for free, essentially. I've done a video on this previously. It's a lot of upgrade costs, but essentially it's giving you 1 and a bit blue cores for absolutely free. As expertise goes up, that becomes more and more valuable, and I do think by the time we get to it being valued at 2 blue cores, it's probably worth that people actually start making that upgrade journey. I certainly would recommend that people upgrade to around level 12 now, where it doesn't really cost you any exotic components, especially rather than most people wasting components like they probably are right now, just so that, you know, you're part way there, right? It's not as much as a grind. So my Pestilence is rolled with crit chance as well. That's definitely the best in slot for the Pesty. And then I'll just kind of flip through the gear because, like I said, this is nothing terribly new. But we've got Strikers, crit damage, crit chance. And this is a layout for the build if you're not using the modifiers. The backpack. It's changed. Can I read? Oh, man. It changed. Liquid Engineer. That's my general all red, no brains build. There we go. And then my stats are going to be wrong. I'm going to need a crit chance and a crit damage mod. This has turned out to be the world's worst video. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below that this is the world's worst video. And if you're still watching, like, you're a hero. Like, Tickle, I was still watching you mess it up. In your lunar pants. That are not very nice. I'm going to go slow today. I've not been well all week. Right, there we go. Right, so the stats are right now. 55.5, 105% critical hit damage. That's all good. Right, so very quickly. Striker's Mask. Weapon damage, crit chance. Backpack, Liquid Engineer. But don't worry about it if you've not got one because it's pretty hard to get. Just get a Bellstone backpack with Perfect Bloodsucker on. Absolutely fine. Armor, crit chance, crit damage with Bloodsucker. If you don't want to take a Bellstone backpack, just take a Grupo backpack. But I would definitely recommend putting Perfect Bloodsucker on. For me, this just works out better than running the Memento. I don't have to worry about collecting anything. I'm going into the unknown a little bit. So, you know, not having to collect tokens, make myself vulnerable is just a win-win for me. But feel free to use whichever you like the most. Striker's Gloves with crit chance. Striker's Knees with crit damage. A Palisade chest piece with Obliterate. I want the 10% armor on kill. Having 20 is pretty much a go-to. Really, really nice. And obviously the pesty kills count for that as well. Holster with crit chance. And that is going to be your lot. I did take the striker drone. I've leveled mine up. It does a lot of damage. It's 27. And I just feel like it's more use than a decoy. Decoys just kind of don't do anything and die very quickly. So that is the way I look at it. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. I hope we get some good news later in the live. I'll be there, so come and say hi to me if you see me. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Oh, that means I'm going to have to release this video before then. That wasn't the plan. Oh well, too late now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.